Hi, welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 3. This season has been shaping up so well. We've had 14 guests who specialize in different music realms, ranging from jazz fusion to blues, Latin pop, and even Bollywood for the first time. There's rock, hip hop, dance hall, and reggae music. These include three festival and concert edition podcasts for the Mahindra Blues Festival, Oddball, and Scott Henderson's Bangalore tour. This season promises to bring in the best music interview podcasts like never before. I really would like to take a moment to appreciate everyone's support, everyone who's been diligently watching all of these episodes. And if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can feel free to leave an honest review about the show. So, the past couple of weeks have been very eventful, and here's a sneak peek of some of the concerts I attended over the past couple of weeks. Starting with Tigran Hamasyan, live from the Oddball Festival that happened at the Phoenix Market City in Bengaluru on the 24th February 2024. Second concert I got to attend was called India Jazz Up, featuring Trilok Gurtu, Paolo Frezu, and Rita Marcotuli. It happened at a wonderful auditorium called the Prestige Srihari Khodi Center. You gotta check out a sneak peek of this video. It'll blow your mind. After the concert, I also got to meet these maestros backstage and personally invite them to be part of the podcast. We'll find out shortly if they'll be able to make it. Next up, I was specially invited by Swaminathan Selva Ganesh, who's the grandson of the legendary Vikku Vinayak Ram of Shakti. He invited me to check out a very exclusive rehearsal session for the Mahindra Percussion Festival, which happened in Bangalore, featuring his Ghatam Symphony Orchestra. And here's a glimpse of the same. This happened on the 22nd March 2024. Never in my wildest dream did I imagine that I'd be seeing a Gattam symphony live, and that too Vikuji of Shakti curating it. It's just I just need to pinch myself to believe that this happened, right? I got to attend day 1 and day 2 of the Mahindra Percussion Festival. Here's a video from day 2 of the Mahindra Percussion Festival featuring Tawfiq G's group Surya, that featured Abi Nayampally on guitar, Shikhar Qureshi on drums and percussion, Sarang Kulkarni on the sarod, and Kaushiki Joglekar on keyboard. This video is just extraordinary. So this was the headliner set on day 2. After day 1 of the Mahindra Percussion Festival, Vikuji's Gattam Symphony Orchestra was easily the highlight for me. Post the concert, I got to meet them backstage. This time I got to meet Shankar ji, who is Vikuji's son. And I also got to personally greet Vikuji for everything he's been doing for generations now. And yeah, there's a third generation which is ongoing. His grandson is spearheading this movement. Felt so nice watching all of them. And another lady, very interesting personality, probably one of the first Gattam players in India, who's Vikuji's disciple again, Sukanya Ram Gopal. So I got to interact with them for a couple of hours, and it was a surreal experience. After Surya's headlining set at the Mahindra Percussion Festival on day 2, I had the chance to personally meet Tawfiq Ji, and he was delighted to finally meet me after our interaction on this year's podcast episode for the Mahindra Percussion Festival, which will be coming out very shortly. Last weekend, I got to witness a 2-day extravaganza curated by NCPA. I'm talking about the National Center for the Performing Arts, Mumbai. And they were in Bangalore for the very first time. They had the Symphony Orchestra of India on day 1, who mesmerized me by playing a couple of their standard classical tunes that featured Mozart symphonies, Bach symphonies, and the highlight of the evening for me was when they played the Harry Potter medley. It was for close to about 5 minutes, and they did it in their own inimitable style. It was just fabulous. And post that, they played the Pirates of the Caribbean medley, followed by a lot of Bollywood Indian mashup tunes, uh, which had a couple of popular numbers. And they closed their set by playing A.R. Rahman's Jai Ho. What a night. And later they had the Unerased Poetry, featuring 3 incredible poets who did their routines from different parts of the country. Day 2 of NCPA at the Freedom Park was even better. The evening opened with an Odissi dance performance by the Srajan Ensemble. The performance included improvised movements from the Natya Shastra. It had a tribute to Adi Guru Shankaracharya, a depiction of the image of Shiva and Parvati. Some of the rags in terms of the music that were used were in Kirvani Madhurima, and the Adi Tal Jati. Their coordination together as a unit was impeccable, and some of the formations and the mudras that they were trying to showcase left me spellbound. The evening just didn't end with the Odyssey dance performance, but there was Darren Das who would put up a wonderful musical night for all of us, making us shake a leg with retro and dance numbers, a lot of ABBA, Boney M, and even Brian Adams. So he made us dance the night away. I'd like to give my friend Ashish Gatak a very special shout out for putting together a wonderful autobiography of Shankar Mahadevan ji. This book is called The Musical Maverick. As you can see, a lot of attention to detail has gone, even in terms of designing the cover of the book. The pink and the black color schemes blend in so well together. And I haven't heard of many Indian writers write autobiographies of our Indian musical contemporaries in the past couple of years. So kudos to Ashish for putting in so much effort, so much time in terms of understanding his subject and coming up with this wonderful autobiography. So, to show him your love and support, the best way you can do it is by picking up a copy of the book. You'll find it at a landmark store all over the country. Or if you're a fan of Kindle, there's a Kindle edition too. If you'd like to purchase the book online, you can always go to an amazon.in and pick up your personalized copy of The Musical Maverick by Ashish Gatak.
Hi, y'all, lovely and wonderful people from India and everywhere else around the world. I'll be doing a special podcast interview, Stalwarts of Music, with Aditya Veera on February 18th, 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Don't miss it. I'm Shankar. I'm a composer, violinist, vocalist. I've released several solo albums on my own and collaborated with some great artists such as Frank Zappa, Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins, Talking Heads, U2, Pretenders, Jeff Beck, and many more. And also I've done Passion of the Christ and Last Temptation of Christ and the hit TV shows Heroes. I look forward to seeing you, and please join us on February 18th at 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time. It's going to be lots of fun with Aditya Veera. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Shankar. Namaskaram.
Hi.
Welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
Thank you, Aditya. It's great to be here with you. Thank you so much.
It's such a privilege to have you on the show, sir.
It's a privilege of mine. It's great to be here with you, sharing all this information. I'm really looking forward.
Where are you right now? I see that you are in a holiday mood somewhere. Are you on vacation?
Actually, I'm in Goa right now because
okay.
one of my headquarters is my partner, Babaji is a really great electronic dance music, like a DJ, we have performed a lot. He's his own place right on the ocean. So I had a show yesterday, a classical show with Abhijit Banerjee here. And 31st also I had a show which is more a different kind of rock, EDM kind of, which is more celebrative for New Year show in Goa. And I have my master classes conducting people from Japan, Germany, and all over the world, Europe and like England and Canada and different things besides from India. So here. And for me, I spent a lot of time before. I know my main place is from Los Angeles, and plus I spend a lot of time like in India very much. And I have a place like in Hosur near Bangalore, Bombay, Calcutta, then also like in Chennai. But I prefer Goa. It's really nice, wonderful, very much. I kind of spending a lot of time here and traveling around here because I have a show coming with Bhikkhu Vinakram Selva and Swaminathan in Chennai on March 1st, and Bhopal, the festival, like in 17th of March, which I'm doing with Abhijit Banerjee. I just go fly and come back here. The weather is fantastic, beautiful, really. Yeah.
Which part of Goa are you in?
South Goa. It is Galjiba beach.
Okay.
You should come and visit me.
I will. I would love to. I would love to come on a vacation to Goa. Yeah.
Vacation, exactly.
Yeah, certainly. So I have a couple of interesting questions as part of our agenda today. Shall we get started?
Please, yeah. Go ahead,
all right.
Please.
How would you describe your journey of learning and embracing Indian classical music as you grew up, Mr. Shankar?
All my families are musicians. My father and their brothers, they're all like musicians. And my mom was a Veena player and singer. So I grew up with, and my father had like thousands of students coming from different parts of the world. So always music was in my family all the time. And I'm the sixth child, the youngest one in a family of 3 sisters and 3 brothers. And since I was the youngest one, my father didn't have much time to teach me. Because, like my eldest brother, Vaidyanathan, is a genius, amazing. The more you teach to the eldest children, they can go and perform and they can make a living and support the family.
Right.
More like that. But I think that was the best thing he did for me. I learned a lot by listening. And my father was a really educational person. He was a professor in Jaffna College of Music. So he had all kind of, my eldest brother had lots of records, everything from Miles Davis, Elvis Presley, Beatles, all kind of stuff, jazz, John Coltrane, everything else. So I grew up with Western classical music. My education was all different kind of music, from the very beginning. But even though I was performing a lot of classical music, mainly also like in India, I had a group with my brothers, L. Vaidyanathan and L. Subramaniam, called the Violin Trio, which we performed a lot with Paul Gottmanier, the great northern player, all over in India so many times. And that was a great group. And from then, even then, I used to do Western classical music and all the other kind of music, different things. So I grew up like integrating so many different kind of music. I believe there's no one single music which is greater than any other music. I wouldn't call Indian music as the greatest music, Western music or any other music the greatest music. I always said there's good music and bad music. It's only made by musicians. So there are great musicians and not so great, not really. So everything is created by us, and people have to be very open-minded. So I kind of educate. Like many times I have like wonderful musicians. I mentor lots of musicians, like Rajesh Vaidya, for example. It's amazing. He has been working and studying with me for many years. I have a lot of people who are extraordinary musicians, very successful. And they come and sometime, even within their band, they come and ask me, God, Shankar, I'm playing, there's an opportunity in the film, and so if I do that, the classical musicians or the Sabha secretaries, they won't give a show or they look down upon us. I said, no, don't worry about anybody. You should proceed with what you feel passionate about. Things have really changed. Like 30 years ago, when I was at a time, like when I created the double bottom, I remember like the press like putting me really down. That was the first electric bottom, no?
Yeah.
So and the purists said I'm killing like Indian music
Okay.
by introducing. I said, no, you have to be open and up now, really. And now everybody's playing electric double bottom. Because for me, like even the electronic double bottom, how I created was I had lots of different instruments, like double
Yeah.
bass,
Yeah.
cello, bottom. I was signed to Frank Zappa's label. And so I
Correct.
used to have all these instruments. So when we went on tour, you cannot carry all these instruments. And meanwhile, you have a sound check, limited sound check, really. And we used to play in large festival, like for over 100,000 people, things like that. So many bands are there. So you only line check, and quickly you have 10 minutes, immediately remove. Next, and because there's so many stage ready to go.
Correct.
That's what I designed. This necessity is the mother of invention. So I designed this violin, and I'll tell you about it more later. So that's why the double violin came. So I'm always been looking forward. I'm a
Yeah.
student of music. Every day I'm a student of music. I have a lot to do in my life. And so that's my kind of thinking, basically.
Well, based on whatever you said, I have a couple of follow-up questions
Please, yeah, please ask
based on
anything.
some interesting facets that you mentioned. So, firstly, you mentioned Jaffna, right? So, I believe Ceylon, right?
Ceylon, it's Sri
At
Lanka,
that
correct.
point
At
of
the time,
time.
Ceylon, yeah.
Correct. So, what was the musical scene like while growing up in a city like Ceylon? What was the kind of music, the local music that was being played when you were a little boy, and how did you sort of get influenced and probably have some of that in terms of your musical traditions, in terms of your time in Ceylon, Jaffna?
I was very young, actually, like from 3 years, so I was a very young boy, like by 8 years. But I started playing, my first concert was in Nellore, in a temple,
Okay.
Shiva temple, Sri
Okay.
Lanka. It
Okay.
was 7 years.
Yeah.
And my father was a professor at Jaffna College of Music.
Okay.
And at that time, I think there were lots of riots and so many things going on between the Sinhalese and everything else. So there was lots of riots, and so many people will stop in the car
Yeah.
and put the Sinhalese newspaper. If you cannot read it, they will throw you in and put kerosene and burn the car.
Oh no.
It's like very dangerous area. And one day, it's kind of so funny because in my house, there was a lady who was helping. I don't like the word servant, but she was cleaning and doing all the work. No, really.
Okay.
I mean, she was a Sinhalese lady. She
Uh-huh.
came and my mom always was very nice to her because every time for Diwali or different functions, she will give her new food and everything else. She will say, pack it, let me pack it and take it. And my mom made sure that she ate it. Otherwise, she will just give it to her kids and she won't eat it. She
Right.
always eat and pack the stuff. And one night she came and told me, you know what, they are going to burn your house tonight.
Oh no.
Yeah, the owner
Right.
was a Sinhalese person, so he was organized it. He was pressured by the government. So they are going to lock you from outside. So get out of the house immediately. So
Right.
my father and all the kids, we walked away with our violin, our instruments in their hands, and
Yeah.
the girls like with their jewelry or whatever, just walked through the forest at night. And he had a Subramaniam, this person who was one of the chief in the Sinhalese army.
Uh-huh.
My father used to teach his daughter.
Okay.
So he came immediately. So we went there for 1 month. Then we left for India afterwards. It was all very turbulent time.
Okay.
And I didn't understand a lot of it.
Uh-huh.
I was too young. But I really loved all the different kind of music and
Right.
everything else, Sinhalese music and different things. People are people, the
Right.
government and all the other stuff are different story, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never understood, never could understand why
Correct.
people are instead of love, like, yeah.
Correct. And you also mentioned the whole idea of good or bad music. right? So
Yeah.
for someone like you who has vast experience in dabbling with different genres, all the way from classical, you said you're working on EDM right now, you've been evolving with time. But for someone like you, what is the threshold, or what is the point where music becomes bad for someone like you? How would you describe, music that's not appropriate, or music that's bad? What metrics would you use to gauge that?
For example, let me take from classical music, like in South Indian classical music,
Uh-huh.
a lot of it's like Tyagaraja,
Right.
Muthuswami Dishra, Shama Shastri. They
Right.
all wrote like over 200 years ago. They
Right.
were all like genius, just like Beethoven and Bach. They wrote the music very instantly, and they
Mm-hmm.
passed it on to their disciples. Creativity is the more ultimate thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to teach creativity. Like, for example, many times, like in South India, there used to be a tradition called Raham Tanam Pallavi. Raham
Mm-hmm.
Tanam Pallavi was amazing, very complex things.
Yeah.
Nowadays, many of the time, like in the South Indian promoter, they say, don't do all those stuff. Just sing some popular songs. Or many times the classical artists are even forced to perform film song, Bollywood songs, a different thing.
Yeah.
And so they are clearly telling them what to do. Some people come and ask me, I said, do what you like, really. And
Mm-hmm.
then they get caught with that. For me, any Indian musician, I think both North Indian musician and South Indian music, there's two great tradition.
Correct.
Before you used to come and ask me, why are you collaborating with North Indian musician? Ah, they used to go. For example, they used to ask me several times, why are you collaborating with a Muslim? Why are you collaborating with a Christian? All these kind of stuff. Because I used to get like so much hate mail when I did the music for the Last Temptation of Christ. So
Mm.
they will, yeah, oh my God, like um, very bad, like correspondent saying that you are doing music, you're Indian and you're Hindu. I said, no, I'm a musician. Being a musician is above all religions. I said, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm everything, but I'm a musician. That's the first thing. So people, you have to able to, my best test is, for example, I used to work for the hits TV series like Heroes. I wrote all the theme and all the vocal melodies for
Yeah.
57 episodes. And we
Yeah.
had an incredible studio in Hollywood called Muppets, like Jim Henson Muppet. That's called the
Correct.
Henson Studio.
Correct.
Every studio had a great producer like Patrick Leonard. He produced all of Madonna's album. And there's John
Mm.
Shank, amazing, legendary producer. He did like Van Halen, so many people. And there's Randy Jackson from
Yeah.
the uh, American Idol.
Yeah.
So many different people. And there's a guy, he was producing all of Lady Gaga next door
Mm.
to me.
Mm.
All those producers, kids used to hang out with me. I know they are coming there to hang out like 6 or 7 years with their parents and everything else, but they will always hang out in my room. Because for me, I think that I really got along with kids. With my best testing ability, say if you take a classical musician, you put like 10 kids in a school, if you perform for them, if they are interested, you are doing well.
Mm.
If you can get their attention, you're doing well. Because they are very, very pure. All of us as young kids, we have tremendous imagination. And as we get older, we are told in the society what's being successful, what's good for you, and things like that. So we start losing the passion when we are like 5 years, 7 years. What was the most important thing? And for me, that's why everything is like doing this interview for you is the most important thing to me today. This could be the last thing, but I have to give 100% and full passionate, not really. That's my idea. So many times for musicians, when you perform, you have to elevate to a different level and take the
Correct.
people out there to a whole different thing. And if they come and tell you, oh my God, this was really incredible, amazing, I had such a great journey,
Yeah.
that means you are a successful musician.
Mm.
And one other thing to add is many times, like Indian musicians, they are like amazing virtuosos, a different thing. You
Yeah.
learn in only one key. If you're
Mm.
playing bar, play only G. And if you're a singer, you do only in C. Suddenly you put them in touch. Many times in the Western thing, when I grew up like in America and everything else, like Lee used to call me, you would say, you know what, Shankar, I have like only 4 bars. can you create some really emotion for me? I'll say, great. The 4 bars is plenty enough. Like people, like I grew up with actors like Robert De Niro, like amazing actors. Emotions, like how you create and touch the arts of people. And that's the same reason I think whether you're a virtuoso musician or a minimalist, some musicians are more like Peter Gabriel. There's so many versions of musicality, like a painting. We have a beautiful uh, sculpture right there, or
Yeah.
statue. If you
Yeah.
have it from an angle, people are going to create amazing stuff. So it's more personal thing for me, and especially many of these musicians. Like I used to go to U2 concert. I was on tour with Peter Gabriel. I used to open
Yeah.
for his old national tour. Then one day we had off. So I called Bono. I said, "Hey, Bono, I want to come to U2. This is in Wembley Stadium." He said, "Shankar, you're not just coming. You have to come and perform with us.
Oh,
One
lovely.
love, one couple of songs." So what happened is that many times I was invited to go and jam. So there's no time. So for Indian musician, we have to be able to converse because I don't know what questions you are going to ask,
Yeah.
but that same idea for musicians, whether you're a guitarist, any musician, if it doesn't matter, you're not playing their traditional music. If suddenly they call me, like I work with Robert Trujillo, it's a Metallica.
Correct.
Call me to help him. So you have to be able to have a conversation in music. So that's the reason I think, like in India, it's so important for every Indian musician. If you're mainly primarily a North Indian musician, you have to learn South Indian music. And if you're a singer, it's very important you learn percussion instrument one. And if you're a percussionist, it doesn't matter whether you're a tabla player, a mridangam player, a ganjira player. You have to learn vocals. That's one. And then you have to learn different musical systems, all different musical systems, just to see how it works. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Then you're a universal musician. Yeah.
Beautiful. Let's get into the technicalities. I'd like to take a step back and ask you, what sort of practice regimen did you engage in terms of developing your skills on an instrument like the violin while growing up?
While growing up, I used to practice a lot. I used to spend like 14 hours a day, pretty
Oh,
much.
wow. Wow.
Yeah. I was a very bad student in school. I
Uh-huh.
probably was the 58 out of 60 people. Really
Mm-hmm.
bad student. I hated school. Actually, it was such a waste of time for me. And my father wanted me to be an engineer, one of those kind of stuff. And in fact, it was so funny because he was teaching all the judges and big ministers' daughters and everything else. He was so sure he would get me an engineering college.
Right.
At that time, there was a famous temple in Chennai, Les Pilayar Temple. So I
Uh-huh.
prayed to the temple, please, if you don't get me the seat, if my seat gets rejected, I'll break 108 coconuts for you. And then the result comes, I was not chosen. My father was, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what happened? But funnily enough, years after, I was afraid to tell him. Many years after, when I got really established, he read in an interview all these things. And he said, oh my God. So
Oh,
the
sweet.
thing is that, yeah, so I think for me, I never took music to become famous
Yeah.
or make money. I loved
Mm-hmm.
music so much. Always I was influenced by different kind of music. So I
Yeah.
took it as a passion. So I knew no matter what happened. And for me, I don't want any other secondary profession. If I got an engineer, suddenly if I got a great job, then my father will say, oh my God, they are paying you this much money. You don't leave it. No, then it becomes primary. It takes more time. And going back to your thing, I practice all the time. Not a day go by. Every day I practice. Unless if I'm traveling or there's sound check, there's just before the gig, I have to take it easy so I don't lose my energy. That's all. It's like I'm in an Olympic game all my life, and my health is at the fittest. I self-discipline. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I have lots of energy. Many times I work with musicians, they get very tired, really, and whatever reasons. And also, it's more like a meditation. My meditation is music and passion and focusing. So if you're doing it every day, it becomes like breathing to me. It's like eating. When I have coffee, I love coffee. It's fantastic. I don't think twice. Like, so if you come to that level of practice every day, doing every day, doing every day, doing, and you don't think about it. Yeah. So practicing is so important because I think because I have like vocal techniques, I can sing for 14 hours and not be tired. I
Mm.
have trained lots of vocalists, like work with them, like Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, or Jonathan Davis. Many of these guys, sometime when they're going on tour, when the tour is over, then they go on 6 months and they're not practicing. Other stuff, maybe they are doing a movie or anything else. Vocal, a very amazing thing, because when you are very young, you have all these high. I have like 5.5 octaves, like vocal range. You have to the lowest note. That's like vibrating, like in the keyboard. When you're playing, in the keyboard, it's very easy because you're touching the thing. It's all electronic, and so it's so important to have your range together. For that, you have to practice a lot. So whenever I practice, I've developed a way. I studied all the Chinese Shaolin monks' breathing techniques, and I worked on. I talked to Muhammad Ali. I used to hang out with him and find out whatever his process of how he's doing. Such a brilliant man. He always was so. He would play with emotions with the opposite person, whoever is fighting with him. However, he wants to win. He never want to lose. Same thing with Bruce Lee. What an energy they have. So I learned from lots of people, like from Mahatma Gandhi. I worked a lot with Princess Trust, like Princess Diana, all these kind of stuff. People, and also Nelson Mandela. They all have special gift. So we can find. They don't have to play flute or violin or sing, but you can find that information. So I think information is available everywhere. How we take it is a different thing. And for example, that's the reason if you're playing a concert, because most of the time, if I'm very, very tired, there are times the flight is really delayed. You haven't eaten, you're so hungry, you go to the sound check, and people are so tired. And sometimes you have fever, you got fever or something else. When you go on the stage, you have to sing. So how do you get that? For that, you have to have 10 times more. When you're singing much longer, then that 1.5 hours is very sharp. It's like walking from here to just across the street. Then you can do it effortlessly. Doing it effortlessly, that's the thing. For that, lots of technique is required. The technique is available. And nowadays it's a lot more. The time I grew up, there's no tape recorders, no telephone, all those kind of stuff, mobile phone. And nowadays, Google, all the information is available. And which is a great thing. At the same time, many of the time I do master classes, people are always asking me, hey, can I tape this? I said, no, you can't tape this because everything is too easy. Then their memory power is short, the attention span. Nowadays, you see, like anywhere, same, even in India, everybody's only texting. So there's no conversation ability or trying to pick up what you're saying, looking at the face and like grabbing, There's great things and good things and bad things, yeah. So I think people should practice all these techniques. And for hours, after 14 hours of singing, if they can still sing, they're doing really well. Their technique is really good, yeah.
At what point did you pursue or consider the idea of becoming a professional musician?
Actually, I wanted to be in my mind. By the time I was 7 years, 8 years, I wanted to be a professional musician. Yeah. Because my eldest brother, Vaidyanathan, was an incredible musician, amazing musician. And then at that time, he was supporting my family also. So he went into the Chennai film industry, because the film industry always played a lot more money, so you could support.
Correct.
And so he was an amazing musician. I heard a lot of other foreign artists and everything else, but I couldn't tell my parents really any of those stuff, and because they wouldn't take it very seriously, and I'm very young and everything else. So I pursued all different kind of music, and then I also studied Western classical music. Also, they used to have Trinity College of London, all these things. So I finished all their final exams, LTCL, and I had scholarship. I used to perform a lot in Russian consulate and Vienna and England, all these different places. I got scholarship now. And one day I dreamt that I was going to America when I had a nap in the afternoon. So when I told my parents, my sister, they were all laughing. Oh my God, you're going to America. Oh my God. They were laughing. But then eventually I was working with a composer called John Cooper. He's an American composer, pianist. His wife is a wonderful soprano singer. He came to India. We were collaborating, and another amazing cellist. So I told him, hey, I want to come to America. He said, any other possibility? That's when he told me there's a university, I'll contact them. So then I went to America, at the time,
And It's just very interesting, right? Like you have you had the grounding in classical traditions. Of course, you were fascinated by what was greener on the other side, like say in America. So, what do you feel was the impulse behind going or getting into that market when you already had a great grounding in the Indian market as a classical musician?
That's a great question. I don't like to get settled. For me, I love change. Always have loved change. For me, people ask me, where do you live? I say, I live on stage. I move from country to country. For me, my music is my home, really, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that when I went to America, like, for example, I'll tell you, many times in those times, uh, they won't even let us when I'm working with musicians. Oh, you cannot come in, meaning that we are different skin. No? Only white people can go in. No? So the
Right.
musician, oh my God, sorry, we cannot go in. I said, you guys go in and just get me a grilled cheese sandwich or a French fries. It'll be really fine. No? And the thing is that, like, challenge. Like, for example, like John McLaughlin, for example, he used to come and work with me. This is in 1974. He wanted to learn. He used to be uh, come and study with Ramanathan,
Mm-hmm.
Veena, S. Ramanathan. Then he was studying. At that time, my uncle Ramanath Raghavan was teaching there. No, so he told John, you should meet Shankar. He's so good in all the other different kind of music. So John met me, and then I talked to him, and at the time we had a conversation. Then when I told him, you know what, if you're going to be playing Veena, who's going to accept you? You have to move to Chennai wearing dhoti, and it's a very difficult thing. Already he was very famous with Mahavishnu Orchestra. I said,
Right.
you can learn Indian music and apply it to your music. Then nobody would question you. That's the easier thing. And so when we played at that time, like he had a huge group like Mahavishnu Orchestra, all the fans, in John, from the very first day itself, I used to write composition, all these things like Joy, everything. John loved it. And then he asked me very soon, you know what? Do you think you could give me a time for the next 25 years? I want to form this group. No, whatever. We'll come back to it a little later. But my thing was that when we went and played the first gig, all these guys are looking at, who are these guys? You know, he used to stand up and play. Oh my God, this is so. Always you get the hardest critique from the audience. Like later, I used to work with Jonathan Davis. We did on the Queen of the Dam, for example, and he
Mm-hmm.
has all heavy metal fans, you know, really heavy guys. You know. They called me again the later, like in 2008. He was doing his first first solo album, which I helped him with lots of his vocals and performed all over in his album, singing and playing violin. So I was asked to go and open for him. I knew at that time his producer Richard Gibbs asked me, "Oh, are you open for him?" I knew I was going to make the biggest mistake or not. Until I take that risk, I wouldn't know. Very easy. Those people are coming, you know, they're all with tattoos and everything. They want to hear heavy kind of music, you know. But I cannot change my music.
Yeah.
I have to play music what I love. No? So I go for the first 15 shows. First show I go, like an East Coast, packed audience. There are all these big guys. They have, you know, in the sport, they have this big hands and they are putting the hands down like this, you know, meaning get out of the stage kind of stuff. At that time, I remember like Frank Zappa, I toured a lot. Um, one of the jealous boyfriend of one of the girls, he used to invite audience, hey, do you want to come on stage? And he will invite them to do something else. One jealous boyfriend grabbed Frank Zappa, his feet, and dropped him down, 8 feet down. So he broke his leg.
Oh no.
So yeah, amazing. So he was on cast, and rest of the tour, he did it on wheelchair, basically. You know, so
My
I remember,
goodness.
yeah, I'm a very thin guy, you know. So I said, I'm not going to go near the audience. They just give me a whack or something else. Yeah. So
Yeah.
behind, I started performing. I started performing. 15 shows goes slowly, slowly, slowly. I used to perform love songs, even. Yeah,
Yeah.
all kind of stuff, different things. And then one day, I think suddenly Jonathan Davis wanted to learn violin. I used to teach him vocals every day after the show. We traveled on the bus, like improvisation vocals and everything else. And they gave the band a solo section, like for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, each of them, like the bass player, the guitars, and drummer, and all that stuff. They gave me, and I said, I don't want any solo section. I said, Jonathan, let's do something together. I said, if I want to train the audience, I need your help. If you sing, they're going to listen. We used to start improvising ragas and all these kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then people would really love it. Because Jonathan Davis was doing. Then he wrote one day in the concert, he said, Shankar is my idol. As soon as he said that, we did a big concert tour. Then they are writing, I suppose if Jonathan loves you, yeah, okay. So stay on with Jonathan. They accepted me. There was a song he sang with me called Misery. And it took a long time for people always, you are Indian, you are this, you are that, you are Christian, you are Hindu.
Correct.
So I always grew up with lots of, I have a willpower, very strong willpower. One of my songs says, never take no for an answer. So nobody can tell me that don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. You have a very strong willpower. I'm willing to give my life for it, working very hard. So I have worked with all kind of audience. So eventually, all those things kind of came together and be fine with me now. But it took me all these years of um, I wouldn't call it fighting, because people are always fighting and say you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing this. But you just leave it and keep on doing your thing. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you like to be unsettled, you love new challenges in life, and you like to keep moving. Like to be part of the journey. Does that mean you don't have particular milestones or objectives that you set for yourself as a musician? Do you have like
No,
an end goal?
there's no such thing as end goal, but everywhere I've done, I have made sure to reach the heights within that. Like in classical music, I performed a lot with Chambay Vaidyanatha Bahadur and Shambhaguri Srinivas here and Palgatman here. All these things I've done, still I perform that. But the same thing if I'm doing other kinds of music. So that doesn't mean if I do this, I don't like the other one. It's like for example, you must have so much of fan internationally from different countries, not only from India. And you are in a journey to educate people, young, old, and everybody else, all kind of range and races. So we are on a journey. We are like teachers. So we have to give the best. So in that sense, there's not one thing better than the other, but whereas we can do amazing stuff and art individually, all those kind of stuff. Yeah, really.
Right on, Mr. Shankar. In the realm of Indian classical music, where rigidity often prevails, Shakti emerged as pioneers of fusion music, blending diverse musical traditions. So, how did you navigate breaking these conventions to cultivate a completely fresh sound? I'm sure during the initial days, people must have felt that fusion music was a violation of the purity of music in a lot of ways. And
Absolutely.
what were some of the things that you and Mr. McLaughlin had discussed in terms of, the vision forward in terms of this project?
Actually, initially, when John came to me and I started writing like The Joy, all these songs, and John would contribute some stuff here and there, sometimes change the fingerings, a couple of notes, because what's comfortable for one is not necessarily comfortable for guitar, things like that. And we started writing things together. The foundation was basically the writing. We were like more the Lennon and McCartney kind of writing all the songs together.
Right.
And at that time we performed. He used to have a group, he used to be with a guru called Chinmoy, Sri Chinmoy. And Chinmoy had devotees such as Michael Walden Narda, who produces Whitney Houston and all those, and Carlos Santana and all this stuff. So John McLaughlin was a disciple of Chinmoy, and they used to live in the Queens. The whole street was all Chinmoys. Everybody was a devotee. They had a different store. And so John, the group called Turiyan the Sangeet. So we started performing the way before Shakti. Turiyan the Sangeet existed. This is way before Shakti. We used to play shows. We used to perform for Station Moy, and also we perform. There's a big show called Speak Easy, national television show. which was performed with Michael Leff from the Beach Boys and Peter Gabriel and Keith Jarrett and all those kind of stuff. It was basically like Turian of the Sangeet featuring John McLaughlin, Shankar, and Ramanad Raghavan. He was a Mridangam player at the time. And we did a few time, and time John told me, you know what, uh, I want to disband Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Mm.
And he said, I want to disband Mahavishnu Orchestra. Can you give me a time for the next 25 years? I said, you know, John, you should think about it. Why don't you take some time, take 2 months, come with me to India? I was playing a lot of classical concerts in India at that time. If I
Okay.
got money and things. So I said, because if you disband Mahavishnu Orchestra, a lot of your fans are going to hate me. They're going to think I'm the cause for the disbanding of Mahavishnu Orchestra. That was such an amazing band with Billy Cobham, Jan Hammer,
Correct.
amazing group. So I said, you cannot do that now. But he was going through some personal complication at the time. And so I said, give it time. So he came to India and traveled in India and he used to play Suri box in my concert, yeah, in the back and listen to Paul Gatmani and all these things, went to temple and everything else. So I took him to a temple in Muga temple, Mukha in Kollu. Kollu. That's a Shakti temple, one of the most powerful Shakti temple. In fact, original Adi Shankara, when he came over this side, then one day when he was carrying this thing, he knew that when there's a bell sound happens here, he will turn back, and that's why they have to keep that Rajishtai right there.
Okay.
So he was walking. Suddenly he heard the thing. He turned back. That's when they kept the thing. That's where the temple. I performed there many times. Kollur Mookambika temple, very famous temple. That's where I told John, you know what? Turian and the Sangeet, it's a very long, it's some blissful things like that in Bengali. I said, that's a very long name. We should rechange the name, the group, to like one name, which is easier for the Western audience. That's why we came up with Shakti, which was from the Shakti temple. And it's also a feminine power. Yeah.
Mm.
That's how Shakti was born. Yeah.
And did you also educate him in terms of ragas and things like that? Because the music is very raga based in Shakti over the years,
Yes,
and even now it prevails.
Yeah, 90% my influence on that. The foundation of the group was all India completely. And John is good at like harmonies and everything. He was a really virtuoso guitarist, no doubt about it, virtuoso guitarist. And he loved to play very, very challenging things. And so it was all based on Indian classical music, but I also understood the Western music very, very well, all the harmony. So I knew what would apply for them, which would be comfortable for them. So if you're playing only completely 100% traditional, only a raga base, like improvising a serious raga, they won't get it. It'll take them a long time to go all those kind of stuff. So this was a different version, modern. It's kind of funny. You asked me this question. I did an interview, or the cover interview for Kumudan magazine. This is in Chennai, The owner scene, I went to America like in 1969, and I came back in 72, And then that owner of the magazine contacted my father. He said, I want to do an interview with Sivaji Ganesan. He's an amazing, incredible actor.
Yeah.
Actor. So to be on the cover, Sivaji Ganesan and me on the cover. So this came out in 72, Kumadam. So Sivaji Ganesan asked me one question after all these things. He said, what are you going to do to educate the young audience and to bring a new realm of music which can spread all over the world? He put it on his own word. That really triggered my mind. Yeah. That's why for me, Shakti, that thought came, oh my God. And at the time, I didn't know whether people will love it or not. And, but I couldn't worry about that. No. So that was the main thing which came from Sivaji Ganesan's like meeting.
Beautiful. What were some of the interesting highlights of your time with Shakti?
The highlight time was very good questions again. We used to be very, very passionate. See, originally, when the group started, I lived in New York City. John lived in New York City. And at that time, Bhikkhu Vinayakaram has played a lot with me so many years ago. So he used to work for All India Radio. So he used to ask me, Shankar, I want to come to America. Can you please bring me over there? Please bring me over there. I said, you know what? When the time comes, I'll call you, definitely. Yeah. And John has met Zakir. He used to go and visit Ali Akbar Khan Saab in San Francisco when the school. So
Okay.
he has jammed with Zakir, just playing for Ali Akbar Khan Saab, just jamming, But meanwhile, me and John has created this concept, which is still Sturiya and the Sangeet, all these compositions, which later he agreed to change the name to Shakti. And then I asked John at the time when he came to India, I said, hey, you should listen to Vinayakram. He said, Brahman, my uncle told me, Shankar, this is all so much of high energy. I can't keep up with it. He was very honest. He said, why don't you get somebody young? He said, why don't you get somebody young of your age? I said, are you sure? Are you sure? And he said, yeah, I don't want to be like on tour and all those kind of stuff. So I had John come and I called it an audition. Basically, I'm very familiar with that. I said, Vinayakram, you have to come and audition for John. I told John, you have to listen to him. You have to be happy with him. Unless if you're not happy, don't bring him. At the time, Zakir, John said we should have Zakir. I said, sure, Zakir is great. I know Allah Khan Saab, really, and Zakir is very talented. And I said, sure. Then I thought it'll be a great idea to have tabla from the North Indian rhythm and to have a South Indian rhythm.
Yeah.
And at that time, yeah. So my thought, and Ramanath Raghavan played the mridangam. Mridangam is more similar to tabla, you know, texture wise. So I want to get something which will really shake up the Western audience. Clay pot, oh my God, they're saying, what is this? Really, And so Vinayakram auditioned for John, and John fell in love with him immediately. So we organized for Vinayakram to come to America. So every day I will go to John. I would write my thing in my home. He would work on his thing. Every day in the morning, he had a beautiful loft. 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, besides the lunch break, we will go through all the music. I would change a couple of notes here and there. If John said, can you change this and things like that, And mainly all the music, get it together. At 4 o'clock, Zakir and Vinayakram will come there. They lived only one block away. They came and we will teach them all the melody. All these things, they learn it. And then we work on the rehearsal. That'll go till night 8 o'clock. We had dinner. Then they had a tape recorder. They would take the rehearsal to their house. Then they can work on it. They'll come with some core wise and different patterns. Next day, they will come at 4 o'clock. So when they come, they will be more prepared. That's how we did it. And for first 2 3 months, initially, there was so much of passion, much of passion. I mean, everybody loved everything else. And after the tour, we opened for Weather Report, like in 76, Weather Report. And all international tour completely. And at that time, when the international tour came, something really shocked me, really. Well, at that time, so far, we have been going on the road. The first album is coming out. Everything we did, which will say Shakti, before that, too, we are on the Sangeet, Shakti featuring John McLaughlin, Shankar, Zakir, whatever it is. So the tour comes, suddenly my name is not there. It said Shakti featuring John McLaughlin. So I go and ask John's manager, Joseph Diana, and I said, hey, what's going on? How come my name is removed? And he told me John asked me to do that. And I was shocked. I said, this music cannot be created without me. This is 90% my music. I wrote all the music mostly. And I said, he can create like Mahavishnu Orchestra, not this kind of music. Only an Indian can do this, really. And he told me, Shankar, I know that, but I cannot do anything about it. It's John McLaughlin thing. Later, I found out with my manager, he was trying to take it legally, so he owned Shakti. That's what that was. I was very ignorant, Aditya. At those times, I was only a musician playing music. But I educate lots of people, younger generation. Hey, guys, go and register. I didn't even know there is a BMI. Ask her. I've released more than 500 songs. Honestly, people will give you, oh my God, you wrote this. I always give credit to assistant engineer, everybody, always I give. So that was immediately taken away. Later, my manager told me, oh, he did that. So because now he owns Shakti. Shakti is my group, actually, basically. Yeah. But then we did 3 albums. And as we did the first two and second album, the group became very, very big. But the rehearsal, they have to come to the rehearsal. This music need discipline. You cannot play any other way, like very, very, very important. So John will say, you know what, Zakir can do it later. Zakir will tell John, I cannot come. I'll come the day before the tour. I said, no, we can't do that. And John will support Zakir, say, you know what, he can come. He's capable. I said, it's nothing to do with capable. If we are doing a play, there are actors. We need to read our lines. Unless you tell your line, how do I know the placement? No, like a unit. So then it came to a point where I used to go to the studio and lay out all the track and everything else and give space for them. They'll come later and overdub their things. I didn't like that very much. Because if it's a unit, we all have to be there every day. Shankar, you know what? We change this. How about this? How about this? That's a unit. So that's why the interest became less and less and less. And then, funnily enough, like at the end of the 3 years, they were not showing up for any rehearsals, really. At that time, we were very well known. For me, you have to play as good as your last concert, if not better. If you cannot do that, you might as well quit. The audience will always applaud, oh my God, these guys are there on the stage, great. But we not really, not really. So the performance standard and the passion deteriorated. And then they don't want to rehearse. And meanwhile, I was also venturing out to other things. I made a lot of albums for ECM Records. And I met actually, I met Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa signed me for 10 albums. One day, we were in the backstage. I was in this trailer, and he said, Frank, he's a huge star. No, he just sit down here. No, I sat down. He said, Shankar, do you have a manager? I said, no. Do you have an attorney? I said, no. I said, go and get an attorney. He said, I want to sign you for 10 albums. And I was very innocent. I said, why do you want to sign me? I'm not known. That wasn't even smart business-wise, no? But that's what Frank liked about me. I was very honest. I said, why do you want to sign me? I'm just an unknown musician, really, He said, I know about your music, really, and I want to sign you. I was the first artist he signed me for Frank Zappa's label. 10-album deal. He produced my album and everything else. And that at that time already, there were also other things, like, for example, we were talking about musicians and everything else, like some people feeling like jazz is more superior. So always John felt, and so is Zakir, always jazz music is much more superior than rock or any other stuff. I work with all kinds of musicians. You cannot say like that. You say like Indians are a lot more smarter than white guys, or Chinese are more than, you know what I'm saying? You cannot. It's only yeah. So those kind of things I didn't like, and things would come like on an interview, like people would ask John, like one day, I think there was a Village Voice, a very big magazine, like a weekly magazine in New York City. Chip Stern, this very important review guy, he has interviewed me too before. He said, hey, John is staying with you, can I come and interview John? I said, sure. I put John. He said, oh, come on. So he comes to my house, and he was asking John, at one question was, hey, what do you think of Jimi Hendrix? He's asking John McLaughlin. And he said, Jimi Hendrix is shit. That's what John said. Then Chip Stern is saying, I will give my arm to sound like Jimi Hendrix. There was a big fight going on. I'm just making coffee right on the corner. Then John turns, Shankar, you're not saying anything. I said, you said it. You clear it. I said, you got into this. I'm not saying anything else. I said, you work it out with him. So that guy wrote all this kind of stuff. And same is going on the bus. Santana is a huge artist, fantastic artist, incredible. And either John would talk really very bad about, oh, they are shit. Basically, that's what I said. I don't like to say those. How can he say all those things, even if you're telling to a friend or your wife or girlfriend or something, oh, they are not good. You don't say publicly. We all have a community of artists. You have to be genuine, really, So I said, hey, man, what are you doing, really? You're doing all these yoga things and saying I'm an Indian, everything else. You don't have any manners. You come from England. I used to have conversation with him. So sometimes he wouldn't talk to me for 3 days. 3 days he won't talk to me. But we are going on the show. That has nothing to do with it. I love to work with musicians who are amazing. If their habits are not good, that's their personal thing. I don't have to have coffee with them. But I put namaskaram for them. This is a concert, amazing, great artist, fantastic. I'm honored to play with you. So you have to be able to separate things and go ahead for the music. So, in fact, people in the West, they're giving me cocaine, take cocaine, all this kind of stuff. I said, I don't want to take cocaine, no, really. Then you're not part of them. You cannot take LSD, all these things. That's your thing. If you want, you take it. I don't want to. You call me for music. And people call me a group of very well-known musicians. They're all Buddhists. These are American musicians, legendary musicians. Hey, come on. Let's have like Namyeko Ramyeko, like all this chanting and everything. I said, please, you go ahead. One day he went for courtesy. He said, can he come? Can he come? I said, I have music for me, which is about everything else. Then they don't want to work with you, which is really fine. So for me, I'm very, very focused. I know what I'm supposed to do. And if I cannot do a good job, I'll say, sorry, I'm not the best person for you. There's a person waiting for you there who's better than me. So the passion died. And one day, John comes and asks me, oh my God, I had a very, Frank Zappa used to invite me every day on the stage. Can he come and play? Come and play. He will say, you know what, come 45 minutes and wait on the side. So he will send one of his roadies, will Shankar, come on, 45 minutes, it's going to come. And Frank Zappa was one of the most ultimate great musicians. If anybody has worked in Frank Zappa's band, you don't need to audition them. Like Steve, so many people have gone through this thing, really.
Right.
Amazing. So Frank Zappa, you would say, come and stand. So he will say this song. I won't even know the name of the song. Okay, come. Okay. We will improvise, play. So that's the way of thing I'm ready to do in anytime, listen, learn, all those kind of stuff. And so John was very uncomfortable. Like I'm improvising with Frank Zappa. So I told Frank, there's a funny situation going on here. So can you please invite John? So he wrote to John saying, what, John, why don't you come and join us? But he didn't even reply because he thinks rock music is lower than him, really. That's a different thing. And then he came and asked me one day, we are on the bus touring for Shakti. Shankar, I had a most horrible dream. I said, what's it? And he said, you know what? You told me you're going to go and join a rock band. I said, what's horrible about it? No, I said, is it true? I said, I cannot answer you now. Let us go in your room, then I can talk to you. I said, Frank wants to sign me. I said, that doesn't mean I play Indian classical music. I will always play Indian classical music and end of my life. I will work with rock musicians. I will work with jazz musicians. I'm an actor. Basically, I'm a musician. I work with Chinese musicians. Whatever interests me, I work with them if I learn from that. So all those things were going on. So very earlier, even they were very rude. And I think that kind of combination, I know Zakir has to do what John said, kind of, but I don't have any people. I have mentored lots of people really. Like they call me for music direction, the problems, different thing. I'm very, for example, one of the very famous band, the drummer and the keyboard player was really fighting. This is, so Shankar, what do you think? I said, you guys, I cannot give you any answers. You got to play your parts right. When you come on stage, that's what matters. If you're fighting it, don't keep it. Don't fight anything on this venue. It's really bad behavior. I used to be the music director, all those kind of stuff. So musicians are like that. So they have to get away from all those kind of stuff. There's the place for everything else. So I think at the time, they couldn't control me, basically. That's all. Because I had my own opinion. That was all based on the perfection of music. So I said, unless you can give me time and rehearse. And so they started saying outside, Shankar is not available. So they decided to let me go. Zaki and John decided to let me go. But whereas for many, many years, they have been telling the newspaper, we couldn't find Shankar, he disappeared. I never disappeared anywhere. I'm always playing concert. And especially in the last few years, since all the email and the social media and everything else, even on the 50th concert tour of Shakti, the promoter asked them, can you know where Shankar we want to invite? He said, no, Shankar doesn't want to do this. The promoter told me clearly. I said, no, it's not true. I would have been happy to do it because Shakti is also, I created it also mainly.
Okay.
So it's my baby also. Anytime I would play. But my only thing is, I wouldn't have done it unless we rehearse and we are sounding amazing. So that was the thing. Basically, they're putting out things that is not available. So many times fans asking, how come you hate Shakti? I said, I don't hate Shakti. I love Shakti. But nobody asked me. Yeah. But that's the general impression, saying that Shankar is not available. And I know Zakir brought many of his friends, like whoever, and who replaced me. To me, I think a lot of people, fans, approached me. The original Shakti was its own. There was like 4 pillars. Vikku Banagram is unbelievable. Zakir is unbelievable. John is amazing, And so it's 4 of us, really. And John and me, I wrote all the music mainly with John completely. That's the foundation of Shakti. And it became commercial as far as distraction. So all these kind of stuff. That's where my message is, basically.
Got it. With Sir McLaughlin retiring from actual touring with Shakti, do you have plans to re-record some of the Shakti tunes with your own quartet or musical troupe?
I have always played Shakti's song in my concerts also. I have been doing with Vinayakram and everything else. In fact, I'm doing a huge show with Vinayakram in Chennai, Vinayakram, Selva Ganesh, and Swaminathan, that is Selva Ganeshan's sons, and Faisal Qureshi, who's Zakir's brother. So in fact, I finished the album last year completely with Vikku Vinayakram, same lineup minus Faisal Qureshi. And I was approached by the same people who were doing the Shakti festival. They want to do a whole tour of, I don't know what they call it, it doesn't matter. We are performing. In fact, when I'm performing in Chennai, I'm performing these songs. I always perform. It's my music also, really. And so whatever name they give it, probably I cannot legally use it because John owns the name now. That's a different story. And we are playing. There's going to be an Indian tour, India, this 2024, going to be American tour, European tour, Asian tour. I have all the album ready to go, all mixed and everything else. Really, yeah.
Who's going to be on guitar?
For that one, there is no guitar. But you know why? I wanted to give respect to John. He's the original guitarist.
Right.
I could bring Steve Vai, and a lot of people would love it. But it's not about a comparison. Because when I went after Shakti, I toured with John Garbrack, one of the most amazing musicians, incredible. It's totally different instrumentation, saxophone, amazing. Then at that time, I found Thriller Gurtu, amazing percussionist. Then he joined me, and many times we toured Europe a lot, all over Europe, and same. And he had another percussionist called Nana Vasconcelos, amazing Brazilian percussionist. He's no more. And sometimes Zakir came and toured with us too. And I don't think I didn't want to use a guitar unless somebody's coming and jamming. Yeah. And for that kind of music, you need a lot of training.
Correct.
To play at highest level, all the unison and everything else. In fact, like Steve Vai, for example, when I did the song Darlene, that was one of the favorite songs for he notated it, transcribed everything. I met Steve when he was 18 years old. Then he joined my band too, a little later.
Then, I believe he was interning with Mr. Frank Zappa around that time.
He was interning, and he was very, very smart. He knew all these stuff. He was very, very smart. He used to live in
Bay Area? Was he in Bay Area?
No, he was in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, Long Island.
Right.
He used to come and visit me, and at that time I was trying to do an album. Everything, all my guitars, everything was definite for ECM. And then Steve was so amazing, so I have to say, hey, you want to join? He came and played the whole album, no? And then he joined my project. At the time, one day he came to me and he told me, Shankar, I have to talk to you, And I said, what? No? He said, he was not comfortable. He said, you know what? I have an audition like in LA. I have to go to LA. I said, what's it going on? He said, David Lirath's audition. At that time, Van Halen has broken up. So Steve, You must definitely take that. Don't mind about me. I wish you all the best. If you get David Lee Roth, you'll be established immediately. I said, he's worked with Van Halen, who's like a number one guitarist at the time. Go ahead. You have all my best wishes. I sent him. He joined David Lee Roth band. The next year, he was number one guitarist in Guitar magazine. And all the musicians I've worked with, I encourage them very, very much. And like Vinayakaram, for example, the first year of Shakti, he was so homely. He was such a wonderful person, every day crying, and all these things, or most of his money, you spend it in the hotel, phoning his family. And he said, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. But I used to tell him, listen, I'm going to tell you some things. You have 1 in a million chance. I said, here, you will be more known than Palgatmani here if you complete this thing. And all your generation, your legacy is going to be established. No South Indian percussionist will be more known than you. You will be the most South Indian percussionist of any instruments in the world. This is great for your kids, great for your legacy. Ask your father and ask your wife. Tell them what I told you. And if they think you are right, I'll send you the next flight. He asked both his father and his wife, and they told Shankar is right. Shankar is right. You must listen to him. Then rest is history. Bhikkhu is like legendary, amazing, incredible. Sure. And now so life, many times we get opportunity, really, like whatever. The Bhikkhu is a great friend, amazing, really, incredible.
Peshkar was yet, yeah. Please go ahead. Please.
Because nowadays people don't have the time. I think people are so busy. They are doing multiple things. So they don't have the time. Like even with John Garbrack, I used to go to Norway. Norway was so cold. Oh my God, Norway. Yeah. And winter and spend time and go through line by line. We learn all these things. So we practice a lot, and he will practice at home. So those kind of dedication is very hard unless you have very big band and you can hire the musician. Say you come for like Peter Gabriel, he goes on the tour. He hires the whole band like Monica He told pay them a lot of money and keep them there like in Bath and rehearse, then go on the tour. They are usually paid half the salary, and on the tour they get a lot of money. But still, even they half the salary is really good money, So they can buy all these kind of stuff. So otherwise, musicians are not giving any time, really. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing, yeah.
Right. Peshkar was an excellent group from the 80s. What was the reason it wasn't pursued further?
The Peshkar was Zakir's project. He called me because he was doing tours for Arts Council in England, Arts Council, and organized a few shows. It was put together for that. Larry Coryell and me. He said, Shankarji, can he cover? So we put together, I don't remember what we played, but it was that thing. And at the time, he also asked me, can he introduce me to Manfred Eicher? Manfred Eicher is from Munich, amazing producer, and people are very afraid of him, really. He's like very, very strict, And he really liked my approach because I was very, very open. I tell him openly, really. And so I told him one day, what, can you record a solo album for Zakir? He has played a lot of shows with me, really. You have heard him too. Why don't you release record a solo album for Zakir? So he's signed him for one album. So Zakir did an album for ECM. So around all those time, he has met also like John Garbrack with me and everything else, and different kind of stuff. He did an album. He did a tour with Peshkar that I was a part of it. Yeah.
Right. When did you experience a moment of personal breakthrough, feeling liberated from the mere technique of playing a particular instrument? Growing up, you've grown up in a musical-oriented family with your initial training in Indian classical music, then embracing the violin and exploring various musical routes, as you mentioned, including the groundbreaking work that you've contributed towards Shakti, and then collaborations in the pop and rock realm with people like Bruce Springsteen, Phil Collins, and Peter Gabriel. So along this journey, when did you feel a sense of accomplishment, thinking, I've truly made it?
I don't think I've made it in my mind yet. I have yet to make it.
Okay.
I'm on the way towards making. I have a lot to make in my life, really. But I think each one of those instances really taught me a lot of things. But I think I grew up in the vocal tradition. I was always learned a lot from singing human voice, and I learned a lot from birds. To be honest with you, I lived among birds. Right now, I'm living. There are so many eagles here, living
Okay.
right here. They
Okay.
sing, they come back because they have pure voice. And for any instrumentalist, amazing instrumentalist, if they are a really incredible player, their true achievement is if they can sing through the instrument, if they can really sing through the instrument. And usually for a great vocalist, they should be able to play like an instrument. Amazing. It's vice versa, really. So I think all these different things, when I worked with different musicians, I learned, like working with heavy metal musicians now, like Robert Trujillo. They have like 200,000 people now. Like when they see the last row, that people are getting their energy. How are they doing it? So lots of really fascinated me, and to more minimalism, to all kind of stuff. So I think it's a constant growth of learning. So I'm a student of music every day, basically. So I have to keep moving, and I have like 3 classical albums ready. One of them with Bhikkhu, Selva, and Swaminathan, amazing classical records. And then 2 with Abhijit Banerjee, classical music albums. And then I'm almost I finished my progressive rock album, which features like Tony Levin from Peter Gabriel. He worked with me many years, and Stephen Perkins from James Addition or Jonathan Davis, a whole lot of people's songs, which is following in the direction of Chaplari Dream. So all of them, one helped me with the other one helped me with this. So they all helped me understand more. Yeah. So when I play a classical concert, I have many elements, yeah, which I can use it. And especially also like in the song idiom and everything, within 5 minutes, they know how to tell a story. And I'm really amazed. Like, for example, Michael Jackson, I've done a lot of stuff for him, for vocal arrangements. I used to go and work with an engineer. He's an engineer, amazing, Bruce Vidhi. He was married to a lady from Calcutta, amazing. Michael won't be there, like lots of ideas and different things. I was always amazed by Michael's dancing, incredible, water, amazing, incredible dancer. He's always everyday dancing, incredible, water discipline. He loved it, was his passion, incredible. And you can see the joy, that kind of thing you find at the height of somebody's career, whether it's Led Zeppelin at their peak, or the Beatles, or anybody else, you find them, or classical singer, or anybody else. That light, that carries whoever's around you, it takes, to up. And that kind of inspiration is very important.
How does spirituality inform your music?
For me, my spirituality is music. Music is spirituality for me, that's all. Of course, I go to temple. I've been to temple. I go to church. I go to mosque. I've been many places, different thing. But music is the ultimate for me, really.
Right. If we were to talk about a topic like God, does it take a particular shape or form for someone like you?
God is within you. You are God. I am God. God is within everybody. It's in a cow. It's in a bird. So we all gave a shape. Somebody gave this what he looks like. Nobody has really seen it. But we have God. God is within everybody else, I think. We have all like godly elements, really, So I think if you influence a kid, for example, you help a little child and make a big contribution in their life, they come up, oh my God, Aditya Veera. I saw the interview, I was really, it shaped my life. I was at the most bottom. Like somebody comes to my concert. I saw yesterday, there's a man called Mahesh, he has been writing to me here and there. He heard me 42 years ago.
Okay.
He comes to the concert yesterday. And he came, he had like tears. He had tears. Really, oh my God. Whatever inspiration I gave to him or not. For music, like everybody, if we can inspire somebody a little bit, somebody else is inspiring us. It's a back and forth thing. That's all it really is. So God is within all of us. And it's good to give. And to give, that itself is God, kind of, yeah. That's a godly thing, yeah.
If chance brought us together in Goa and I expressed interest in learning the violin under your guidance, what criteria would you consider before welcoming me as your student, Mr. Shankar?
My criteria is I would ask you a couple of questions thinking that why do you want to learn the violin? It's a very, very difficult instrument. Are you learning the violin to pursue, or you're learning for just a couple of lessons to see what it is? I need to know your mental, what you're looking for, really. Yeah. In that case, okay, that's what you're looking for. You want only a couple of lessons, then I have to tailor it accordingly. Yeah. Otherwise, if you want a long-term thing, I would say this takes lots of discipline. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. Nothing is impossible. Definitely you can achieve.
Well, that sounds promising enough.
So you will come?
I will someday when when my mind is clear enough to get into that space and specialize in it. When I have that time, I will definitely come to you.
Not even violin. Just come by. Right. It's amazing. I have to show you.
Right.
Maybe after our interview right now, I'm sitting down. I'm right on the beach. Incredible. Right. You could do an interview here.
Yeah, sure. We could do a live interview there. Yeah, that'll be
other people, whoever is scheduling. Incredible, amazing.
Yeah. So, how different was your musical approach when it comes to crafting music for films like White Sands, The Last Temptation of Christ, and films like Bombay Jazz, which is nominated for the category of Best Documentary at the Cannes Film Festival?
Actually, many of the film, for example, Last Temptation of Christ, I used to live a lot in England, no? And so every time I was leaving, I used to work with Phil Collins for his album, from the very first album, Face Value, and all
Face Value, yeah.
And then Peter, one day I was in Phil Collins' studio, and then Peter called Phil, and Phil said, Shankar is here working with me. Then he talked to him. And that's when he told, I'm formatting format. It's organization with world music and all those stuff. Can he be part of it? That's a long story. But anyway, England was very nice at that time, and those times was people were very open, and Indian culture was very, very, very well accepted. But it was very cold there, So I didn't want to live there forever. It's very cold, like Germany and things like that. But in any case, the thing is that those guys, I learned a lot also working with them. They had incredible technology. Their studios are unbelievable studio, incredible. They always had the best engineers. Always the engineers were my best friend. All these technical people, whatever I could do, I had great people around me. They were amazing, incredible. Whatever I cannot do, they were incredible at that. I was surrounding myself like things like that, not really, with technology and different things. And at that time, also, I was associated with Jan Garbrack and all these stuff in ECM. They are based on Munich and everything else. So I was doing multiple things. And I couldn't, the Last Temptation of Christ. So I used to go, I used to call Peter, I'm leaving tomorrow to America. He said, no, don't go. I'll send a car to you and please come to Bath Studio. I have a lot of track for you. Many times I used to go to the studio. He had incredible engineers. And then there'll be so many songs all over the walls, this name, that name, all these kind of stuff, I won't even ask what it's for. Maybe that's for us, one album, a soundtrack, or whatever it is. Yeah. So one day we did like 12 tracks for Peter Gabriel, 12 tracks. At the late night, I asked Peter, can you do one song for me? Just like 2:00 at night. He said, sure. That song was called Opened. That was for my album. Then a few days later, Peter told me, you know what? I played all those 13 songs for my wife. And she loved your song the best. He was at least honest enough. Then I was surprised. Then he told, I played for Martin Scorsese's. He loved your song the most. Then he asked me, can he create another 13 songs like from your song kind of stuff? I said, sure. And so even though at that time we have like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, a different musician, according to the story, wherever. So I used to work with Nusrat too, because Peter at the all the arrangements and everything else. And Nusrat would be in the studio. So I would tell him, Nusratji, if you sing this raga, that will go with that harmony. He will be listening to harmony and what it says, this raga, then that'll go there. And so I wrote all those kind of stuff. And then I work with mainly only with Martin Scorsese, like in New York City. He used to have his dog, white little dog, will come and sit on the center seat, and only Martin and me. And he would explain me the scene, this and that. So I just sing, and sing. So, oh wow, that's great, that's great. So I worked with Martin. All those things was created over there. And Peter was in Bath at that time. So many times, even later, he would call me for a studio in Los Angeles, even for his own album too. At that time, there was an amazing producer, legendary producer, I forgot his name, William Orbit. Yeah, he produced Madonna's Ray of Light and all those kind of stuff. Yeah. So he was in LA. So he called me, hey, can he come? We have to do some tracks for Peter, So Peter was never around. He was only in England or traveling. So I worked with William Orbit. At the time, I go to a studio and I said, where's the studio? He said, this is the studio. That's when Pro Tools came. So all he had was only a table and his computer and one microphone. I said, where is the studio? He said, this is the studio. He said, Shankar, this is the future. That's amazing. And William Orbit was amazing. So I work with usually most of the time, like even with the heroes. Actually, after The Last Temptation of Christ, Mel Gibson took my voice, and that was used as, what do we call them, temp score for all the last, for the Passion of the Christ. And then he was looking for me and he said, hey, I didn't know where you were looking. Nobody would give me your address ready. So he put a detective to find me. He told me. Because probably the composer didn't want to give my number. Otherwise, I would get the scoring, whatever. It's a different thing. But in any case, eventually he found me. I did all the vocals for him for the Passion of the Christ. And there was a TV hit series called Heroes, which the creators were big fans of Last Temptation and Passion of the Christ. So they wanted the same voice. That's how, actually, that set a standard to a lot of the film industry, the Last Temptation.
Right.
And I did lots of stuff working for people, and many times nowadays, and I have my own like Pro Tools studio wherever I go. So I send them files much easier.
Right. Could you reflect on your time with the One Truth Band?
Yeah, One Truth Band was so nice. It was so funny because I think we were touring Shakti, and suddenly one day Zakir couldn't make to the gig. He said there was where's that? He said there was a snowstorm, like in Switzerland. But basically, John got mad because I was in Delhi, actually. so he said the band is disbanded. He said, let's do One Truth Band. So the One Truth Band was his name. Can he come and join me? I said, sure. So One Truth Band had a great drummer called Tony Smith, and he worked with Jan Garbrack. Not sorry, Jan Hammer. And then Fernando Saunders, he was also an amazing bass player. And he and Tony Smith has worked with Lou Reed, the wonderful musician from New York City. And it had Alirio, a percussionist, and me and John, the city. And we did tour for some time.
And talking about collaborations, you were someone who's collaborated with several interesting groups. That includes the likes of Shadowfax, Dark, and artists like Don Cherry. Right. So, what do you essentially look for in these collaborations, and how do you go about them?
Usually, I have to have a meeting with them, and if you're improvising, I want to see where they want to go, and I want to see where I can take it. Like, for example, if somebody called me, hey, can you come and play in my bebop crew? Bebop. I said, I'm not familiar with bebop, but I can improvise. So I have to let them know I can improvise in my own way. So people, whoever wanted to work with me, really liked my sound, my voice, my volume, my way of approach, even whether traditional or not, in that genre of music. And plus, more than anything else, I want to make sure they're willing to work hard and we can take it further somewhere else. Don Cherry was an amazing musician. He loved Indian music. He used to come and tour with Ed Blackwell, amazing jazz drummer, incredible. So we used to go on like bus all over Europe, to Eastern Europe and all those kind of stuff, to Western Europe, everywhere else. So I used to open for them, and Manfred used to put me on the tour, whereas we would have like 40,000 people, 50,000 people, and all these things. So I had no other band member. It's just me. So I have to create it. I had all these loops. So I used to start creating a loop, start singing and improvising, getting the audience involved, singing back and forth. So everything, every challenge, if you're smart enough and be patient enough, it'll give you new answers so you can find new things to add to your music. Then I would ask Don Cherry and Ed Blackwell to come and join me in one or two pieces. We had a great time and all those pedals and everything else. Then I using the raga theory at the time, just mainly for slow ragam and everything else. It's a great thing, but you have to know how you are projecting. And one thing is you have to, audience is patient. Otherwise, they'll start booing you, no, really. They won't have patience, especially now. So I think it taught me a great um, um, lesson how to approach people and make your music modern. That's the same thing. The slow alap, it's just it's a soundtrack to the Last Temptation of Christ or something else. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Does the mystical nature of music spark your curiosity in terms of other mystical aspects beyond the music?
Can you go in a little more detail? Explain to me.
Sure. So, music in itself is very mystical, right? The nature of music. So, does it spark curiosity in terms of other mystical aspects beyond the music for someone like you?
Many times, the mystical quality leads to different cultures and different countries and music and their behavior and how they have embraced, and the people's emotions. But funnily enough, at the end of the day, for me, emotions are the same. Because if somebody dies or something else, people cry, and or happiness, different things are the similar thing. But how we react, how we are asked to suppress it and not to suppress it, not really. So there's lots of mythical things happening around the world, different things, which I think we can adapt to it in a musical style and be influenced in a positive way, definitely, to create, especially those things help me a lot lyrically. Many of my lyric songs, which really helped me for these things. Yeah. So it's more like a healing process.
Right.
Whether I've learned from somebody else's experience, even if I didn't go through, but I learned from their experience. So I have a lot of songs, which is like, I'm going to be releasing a lyric, like, which is all from these songs, really, which are like examples, what I've learned from others' experience or my experience.
Right. Tell me about the double violin in a little more detailed manner and why you felt the need to devise an all-new instrument. We've had such a long and enduring tradition of classical instruments, styles, and approaches. Why a new one?
It's a very good question, actually. And the thing is that I used to play different instruments, as I said, viola, all this kind of stuff. When I used to have different instruments, one for classical music, one for world music, one for rock music, all these kind of stuff. And the practicality is like I can take only one instrument in the flight. And then when I overdubbed all these different instruments in Zappa, when he produced me, I couldn't take all those instruments. And one of the problems, technical big problem, was when you take an acoustic instrument, when you're playing in a big, large stadium, when they are giving you the volume, you hear all the air really very magnified. And so the sound engineer will start to take all the certain frequency, mid frequency, top frequency, then the violin sound become very dull. It's no more. That's the only way they can give you volume. Right? So the violin sounded like pretty much like a strangled cat. Like that, no, basically. And so I need the good frequency. And violin is an amazing sound. And so I wanted to devise an instrument where it has a whole orchestra range, double bass, cello, viola, violin. So I devised it for 2 years. Then I made it on a cardboard. How it should. I'm not a luthier, so I cannot make it. I made it on a cardboard. And there is a place like in New York City, famous street, 48th Street, that all musical instrument, guitar, drums, bass, everything, whole street. I used to walk to each one of those stores. And before that, I called like Gibson guitar. Gibson guitars made John McLaughlin's um, um, Shakti guitar, which guitar was carved just like Veena, in between spaces you can pull. I asked them, they said, no, this is not possible. This is not possible. But I know it's possible because they said it's not possible because they are thinking of the business side. How many people are going to buy this?
Buy it.
It's not
the profitability of it.
Yeah. So they said, no, this is not possible. I said, it may not be possible for you, but it's possible for me. Thank you. Don't worry. I used to walk every store in the 48th Street. Finally, one of the store, Stuyvesant Music, he's a guitar maker and everything else. And I talked to him. Luckily, he was a fan of mine. He said, Shankar, you can have my best worker for 2 months. Come in the morning, like 10 o'clock, till the evening, 7 or 8 o'clock. You can take him except for the lunch. That man's name was Ken Parker. He was amazing. He made lots of guitars from Pete Townsend to so many people, legendary guitar maker. So he used to stay there. He used to spend a lot of time. He's a great luthier. I used to tell him all these things, took my cardboard, double violin and everything else. That always one of the major problems was he used to ask me, which violin is more prominent? You have to decide. The top violin is more important or the bottom violin? I said, no, both the violin is very important. Because as soon as I make one violin more important, I'm going to be playing less the other violin. And for me, the ranges, the double bass and cello are so rich. For certain raga, even Indian music like Darbari Kanada, are certain very rich, lower ranges, amazing, incredible. And viola, violin, high register, soprano, all these things are amazing for certain range. I said, I need all the range. So you have to figure out what it is. So we spent a lot of time figuring out. He made everything on his hand. And so eventually it came out. The first time I ever used the double violin, the original double violin, was on my solo album called Who's to Know by ECM Records with Zakir Hussain and Umayya from Shivaraman on the Mridangam. And I played a very special, complicating tala, Pallavi. And my father came to Lakshminarayan and I came to put the talam in the recordings. And since both my hands are occupied. And then the first instrument was used on Phil Collins, that big song, what's that song? The huge song which came out. In the Air.
It Droned?
In the Air.
Yeah, I think Droned is also in that album, right? Face Value.
Yeah. So I worked on Phil Collins. I think we did a lot of stuff. So a few tracks were used. He was also helping me to go to his place a little bit away from London City and help on his album, help on my albums. And so, yeah, that was the first thing.
Correct. I believe even Daryl Stomer was on guitar for that album with Phil Collins.
Daryl Stomer, amazing guitar. He used to work with John Luke Ponty before this band.
Right.
Yeah.
Marvelous. Could you speak about your relationship with the percussionist Ramnath Raghavan?
Ramnath Raghavan was my uncle.
Right.
My father had like maybe 5 or 6 brothers, 2 sisters and everything else. Ramnath was the youngest son. So there was an opening in Wesleyan University, So I invited him to come and teach Mridangam there. So he came over there and he lived there for 2 or 3 years. He got his green card. Then he's no more. He's a wonderful Mridangam player, very nice Mridangam player. And we used to play a lot of classical concerts. He also did all the Turiyan and the Sangeet, all those things at the time, prior to Shakti.
So what kind of credit do you give yourself as a musician? And do you feel that you've received due credit in terms of your groundbreaking work with Shakti?
Groundbreaking work with Shakti, I don't think I've been given enough credits because
Mhm.
I formed that band. And more for later, I think John and me were great friends and all this kind of stuff through time, and
Mhm.
especially with all the um, newspaper articles and everything else saying that. Even I see all the time John saying that me and Zakir formed it, me and Zakir formed it. I think he might have met Zakir before, but all the compositions, all the material is written by me and John. And mainly in the beginning, it was more me than even John, really. So it was, all the writing credits is only me and John, really. I know they are great percussionists. When Bhikkhu came and joined, they contributed a great deal of uh, playing and making the tracks and the solid and everything else. But later, always they are saying, like, I find it all the time, like John saying same thing, me and Zakir, me and Zakir. You might have jammed with Zakir, but all this composition is based on what I work with John, basically. Yeah. So I think I was not definitely not given, and I felt cheated a little bit. Even on the 50th year, they didn't call, like once to invite, and they told the promoter that I said I wasn't interested, which is not true because I love the music, very much. Yeah, no, these things happen in life. I'm used to it, not all these kind of stuff. But I wish them all the best. It's congratulations. They won the Grammy recently. That's fantastic, incredible. But that's all from where we started many years ago, like 50 years ago already, So, so Shakti as a brand winning, that's fantastic. I wish Zakir all the best. I wish John all the best. I have no regrets for whatever happened, but I only wanted to clarify for the fans that it's not me or they could not find me. Nowadays, it's very easy to find anybody. You have the Instagram, you have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have everything. The record company, you contact them. Hey, can you let me know where so and so is? Somebody, and we all have lots of common fans, friends, and musicians. So many of the time they were portrayed wrong. They are basically lies, actually, which I don't appreciate really. Especially it affected my fans. Like, how come you don't like Shakti? I said, no, I love Shakti. So those images were created. I'm not a very uh, public person. I don't go and put lots of interviews. Only all my Instagrams and everything else is posted by somebody else from a management company. I don't even know what to post anything really, and they take care of it only for the concert. I'm not here. Hey, look at me here, man. I'm here. You know, I'm not like that kind of person. I like more like quiet. So, but whatever it is, that's me. And but I think especially the true information is very important. You have to give credit to people. That's so important. Very, very important. Yeah. You cannot take the credit away.
Did you try talking to them about it? About the
They won't
whole.
return the call. I called Zakir many times. I invite him to play concerts with me, classical concerts, different things. He won't return the call. I tried to get John contact through the mutual friend. He won't return the call. It's for the past few years. Several times they refuse to contact me. Really, yeah. They are welcome to call me. I have nothing in the past. If you're talking about, I can talk about what's going on. That's all.
And why do you think they didn't return the call? Is there any
Because
particular reason?
they feel guilty.
Okay.
I feel they feel guilty because they've done all these kind of stuff. Even for one period, say if I went underground, say for even underground. I used to go to Africa and everything, all different kind of stuff. Say at one time you could not get in touch with me for 2 months. My record company would know. They could contact Peter Gabriel's company. They always know. They could contact ECM Record. They would always know. And they have some management company. They always know really. So always saying, Zakir, I called several times. Last year I invited them for concert. They won't return the call really. I'll ask a mutual, why don't you get Zakir? So they're not answering back. So he doesn't want to do the kind of stuff. That's the basic stuff. So I think they reform Shakti. And another thing is probably it's also a financial thing.
Mhm.
It's a financial thing. Because when the album came out, this is another very serious stuff. I should tell you this. See, when the Beatles, uh, John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote all the songs. So they get all the writing credits. And George Harrison was allowed to do one song. Ringo Starr was allowed to do one song. So they get the writing royalties. But the group, as the Beatles, they split the mechanical royalties 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So At that time, when Shakti, the first album came, it said John McLaughlin. I didn't understand. So much later, I understood. No? That means he took the rights. So he is the owner of Shakti. None of those records, John took 100% of the mechanical royalty. 100% of the mechanical royalty. I consider this is my group. You say, you know what, I have a big manager, I have to pay him this thing. Even if you took, you know what, I take 60%, you take 20%, let Zaki take 10%, let Biku take 10%. Financially, I was ripped off. That's another thing. But that's not the main reason for me. That's a different thing. And one day, John and Zaki met me like in New York City, in Darbar restaurant in New York City. Warner Brothers offered $1 million to reunite Shakti. So John and Zaki said, oh my God, you're the greatest violinists, you're the greatest violinists. You should come and do this. I said, John, why are you doing all these things? How come it's all so false? You never paid any royalties. It's not even about the money. You know what I'm saying? 100% royalties, you took mechanical royalty. Return to Forever, Chick Corea, amazing, Stanley Clark, and Al DiMera. They all wrote songs. Not only they took their royalties for that, but they split their group's money even. Whether we lose or not, John said, oh my God, I lost money. It's nothing to do with losing money, John. We will lose it equally. So there was no transparency. No transparency here. When I go on the tour with Bhikkhu, I split 50% with him. When I go with Bhikkhu, sometime I play free concert for a big charity. I said, I'll play for free. Ask Bhikkhu, talk to Selva, whatever money they want, give them. Whenever they are doing joint project, I'm creating this album with Bhikkhu and everything else. You know? We share everything, 50%. If there's zero, fine. If it is free, it's free. If you go negative, it go negative. So business-wise, that's absolutely wrong. And so it was much easier. At that time, also, for example, we used to get paid a lot. We used to play like huge festivals. And John was so famous, like Frank Zappa, all these guys get paid like $40,000 a gig. Say the lease is $20,000 per gig. I was given a salary of $200 per week. $200 per week, no matter how many concerts I pay. So they take tax, which is $40. So I get $160. It's not about money. So you're ripping somebody else off because I'm an Indian. At the time, I couldn't leave the country because I applied for a green card, so I cannot leave the country. I applied for green card mainly because I gone to the lawyer. It was a George Harrison's lawyer. My parents were not well. So those people said, if you bring them to America, they can longer. You can get better medical treatment. So he said, the only way for you to do is get a green card. I got a green card, then apply for an American citizen. Then you can bring them, their preference will be much less. You know? So I was a very innocent, like idiot. I was a fool, actually. I'm to be honest with you. You know, I don't know anything about business. Whatever I didn't learn, I always inform all of my younger generation. Say, please learn about this, learn about this. It's so important. Did you register your song? Do you have BMI? Do you have ASCAP? Did you write the song? As soon as you write the song, go and register it. If somebody wants to buy your song, even if they want to rewrite it, then you have to get your percentage. Nobody's like showing all these things. There's lots of corrupt people. And when it comes to business, we are a music community. And I don't expect that from John. John is supposed to be a big star in America. You know? Why don't you embrace me? Shankar, you need a thing. You need to have a company. Let me get your business manager. You need to register these songs. You know? I don't even know to register these songs. So basically, to this day, I don't get a penny from mechanical royalty. You are the first one I'm telling all this information for many years. So sure, they have to say, I don't find Shankar, he disappeared, he took too much drugs, he's sleeping on the street in Africa, we cannot find him. All these stories I come and hear. I'm so clear, all the musicians work with me, 100% I'm together in my mind. I have so much of energy. Because I work for music. I always work for Saraswati. Saraswati took care of me. Music always took care of me. When nothing is going on, my manager will ask me, why are you doing this for whom? I said, don't worry about whom. Time will come. So immediately something huge is happening. I do music for music. I'm committed to music. My music will take me. I have a lot to do. I'm a student of music. Nobody can stop my music, Only God can. Until my time comes, I don't know, my music will live after me, even after centuries. It will live because I have put my mind, that's where I think. I don't want any rewards. But when people are cheating you, that's not a nice thing. That's not an honest thing, really.
Well, like you said, your music will live on forever. It is passed on to several many generations, and me being part of uh, another generation altogether, I embrace the music that you put out. I still listen to it till this very day. There's no
Thank you.
doubt
Thank you
about
so
that.
much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I'd like to talk about the iconic album where you put your heart and soul into one of the finest compositions, Darlene. So, could you
Oh my
tell
God.
me a little bit about the process? If you could get a little technical about the process of crafting that particular tune and working with the masters involved in this particular album, I'd be happy to listen to more of that.
I think every year I came to India from US, and we used to do a lot of concerts. My father used to organize with the Violin trio, with all three brothers, and Paul got money here. Did lots of concerts, which will go through middle of January, end of January. At that time, Frank told me, "You be there in England January 1st. We start recording." So I had a music director go to England earlier, MD, given him all the notes. So he was rehearsing. Group had like Simon Phillips, all these guys, amazing guys,
Yeah.
English artists. And so they went to rehearse everything else. When I came from India, then I got um, seriously ill. I got like sore throat and fever and everything else.
Oh no.
So I was not well at all. And so I wrote that song on the flight,
Mm-hmm.
Darlene. So I was not well. And all that song has so many times signature,
Mm.
so many times signature, really. And even after 30 years, people were still asking me, how do you do that? How is it split now? And so then I have a chart, I give it to them now. So that was a very complicated song. And one of the nicest story was, um, oh, the first song we were recording was Dolly in the album, Touch Me There. Because
Mm-hmm.
Frank is inside the booth. It took them 57 takes, 57
Wow.
takes. Yeah. Conducting,
My
I'm
goodness.
conducting. Yeah. Somebody would make a mistake. Frank, can you punch in? He said, no, you cannot punch in. Go from the top. Go from the top. Yeah. 57 times they were deaf. In fact, when Frank came, as soon as they came, I told Frank, you need to meet the musician. He was such a big legend. I said, musicians will be very nervous. So I would love you to come for one evening of rehearsals. They'll run through some songs. You sit and listen. So they have seen Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
He comes there with his huge bodyguard. No? He's Barbara Streisand bodyguard. He had all these cuts and everything else. Even if I go near Frank, he's looking. I said, Frank, look at him and look at me. Now. Hey, you will say, hey, what's he going to do? Don't worry, leave him alone. Kind of. No. Frank is always very jovial. He's always funny. And so that guy was fine. And so Frank wouldn't allow them to punch in anywhere. I learned a lot from Frank. Even to this day, I think of Frank. He's one of the greatest musicians. When I play Darlene, even to this day, I'm practicing. I played I can play it 10 times in a row without mistakes, without
Mm.
mistake. And many of my difficult pallavis and everything, I always have a lot of repertoire. So I'm practicing vocals for rock songs and different things, the registers, a baron, a pallavis, and all this kind of stuff. Many times, the musicians are lazy. Many of them are very lazy, really, So I have musicians train them. I give them the pallavi, and train them. And they say, oh my God. And we had a show on Sunday. We were leaving on Friday. So I told this very well-known percussionist in America, I said, you have to play it for me. You haven't even played for me once without mistakes. So how am I going to take you on the stage and you're going to screw me up? If you screw up, I screw up. Yeah. Unless two people are together, That's the beauty of Shakti and everything else. Like violin trio, we used to play the most complicated thing in unison with Palgata
Mm.
Mani. Yeah, very
Wow.
difficult. Fastest thing to the slowest things. And my father was a great teacher. He was always very strict. No, he used to wake us up like 4 o'clock, and he used to pinch me, and I get back up, wake up, really. and but the thing is that you have to work hard. You have to see that. Oh, I'm good. I'm better than anybody else. So don't worry. I'll come later. There's no later. That kind of attitude, which happened in Shakti also. So in that case, the guy on Friday, he comes and plays. He makes lots of mistakes, lots of mistakes, lots of mistakes. I told him, you know what? You're not going to play the song. And the Pallavi. Pallavi was very complicating and darling. I said, when that composition comes, you go to the backstage, back home. If you stand there, they are going to be wondering why you're not playing.
Right.
Everybody asks him, how come you weren't there? What's he going to say? I know the composition. That's his problem. If he wasn't there, he has to leave. Now, I'm very, 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 very strict. I'm very strict with myself. I have to play it correct. So anytime I can play, darling, anytime I can play, 10 times in a row without a mistake. Because I've done it so much, I'm keeping it up. It's like a runner, like a marathon, always doing a marathon, you're practicing. So I think musicians nowadays also, in those days, it took a much longer time to get famous. For example, you play in Chennai, only Chennai, some newspaper writes about you, okay, local people know. Then you go to Bombay, somebody writes about there, they know about there. You go to Calcutta, and things like that. Then you become national. Oh my God, he has been in few places. And nobody knows you're playing in Chennai, in
Right.
Bombay. The Bombay edition of Times in India, Hindu, they don't publish it. But nowadays, it's so easy. You're playing in somewhere in a little town. Everybody knows all over the world. And plus also all the social media and I think it's fantastic to have all the Google and the email and systems and everything else, which is very fantastic. I never saw many of the videos people are sending me. Oh, I see them on YouTube. Oh my God, this happened then. Oh my God, it's great to have it more for reference. And meanwhile, I think the memory power of people has become shorter. Like, for example, we used to remember your dad's number, your mom's number, or whoever, your brother's number. What's your number? Okay. Nowadays, we don't need anything. Aditya, okay, right here. So these are the kind of things we don't need that anymore. So I think that's very important. The challenges are very important. So I think also for someone, if you got 1 million views, doesn't mean you're good. For a musician, I can get my YouTube song leaps a hit. That's a different story. So they don't pursue it. See, what happened was that all the technology, many of the musicians, like in America, they're using auto-tune, the singers. So they're not learning to sing. It's a very difficult thing. So they have to go, and it's a very complex thing, but the long process is better. It takes a harder time, but it's great for them to do it, really. So there are good things and bad things, but I think the social media is great for certain things, but certain things for the young future generation, I think it's important. They have to develop the ear train. Because many times I used to go to Paul Gottman here, and he would sing me. I said, "Can you sing me some Tari Tom?" He would say, "Tari Tari Kardada, Tari Tari Kardada, Tari Kardada, Tari Kardada, Tari Kardada, Tari Kardada, Tari Kardada, Tari Kardada." As soon as I hear it, then I can know. Tari Kardada, Tari Tari Kardada. So your memory power, if you don't understand where you're at, can you do it again, again? So you're able to understand better. Not that can I have it, can I record it? I'll figure it out later. Yeah, things like that. So I think the shorter route, there's no shorter route. I like the longest and longest route. It's great. Meanwhile, we can enjoy it. We can write some more composition, learn some more, right? So there's no short route. It's really cool.
Talking about new music for 2024, what is brewing in terms of music? Could you tell me a little bit about the new generation of musicians you've been working with, and new ideas and unexplored territories in music?
I have, for me personally, I have like 3 albums I finished. 3 albums I finished, which is one with Vinayak Ram and Selva Ganesh and Swaminathan. And I may add tabla to that too. It's possible because of the tour which is coming. I did a couple of albums with Abhijit Banerjee, classical albums, really. and with Pallavis, but they are also international, like for international music. Then I have this in the same vein as Temporary Dream, progressive album, progressive rock, which is all the some top great musicians like Tony Levin, all these guys, Jonathan Davis, Zach Baird, all these kind of stuff. And meanwhile, I've been also working on like soundtracks and things like that for Disney movies, which is all I have to send files. And I collaborated with James, this big Pixar animated movie, which is coming out, Lots of My Boys. And then I'm working on a Discovery Channel things, and then some other big projects. So I have a whole lot of film acapella, different stuff. Sometimes I send them with the keyboards and everything else. Sometimes I also have to send them just the acapella alone, so they can take it and do their own thing. That's what Wendy and Lisa, who work with Prince, they used to be the composer for the heroes. So I recorded all my vocals, sent it to them. Or sometimes they would send me, musicians are sending me, just keypad, can you send me something? This is for 2 minutes in D. This is an E key, things like that, no? And I'm working on multiple projects, actually. Yeah.
Well, that's
EDM
incredible
album.
to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. EDM and
All
all
kind
the
of stuff.
interesting projects. In the interest of time, I'd like to come to the last part of our agenda, which is a fun rapid fire segment with Mr. Shankar. So I have some questions, and you got to be very quick with your answers. You can't
Okay.
think too
Okay.
much. All right.
Okay.
So first question for you: what is that one song that always makes you cry?
Memories.
On the contrary, what is your favorite guilty pleasure song?
I Want to Hold Your Hands. Beatles.
Lovely, lovely. What is that one go-to raga that you love playing during your practice regime? Is there something like that?
Aberi. I did a Pallavi, Aberi, Pallavi. Aberi.
Right, right.
And also memories going back to, that's a song from Song for Everyone. When my mother passed away, I wrote the song called Memories.
Wow, lovely. That's must have been quite a heartfelt one.
Heartfelt, yeah, correct.
Yeah. Talking about your idea of a all-star fusion ensemble. If you had to put together an all-star fusion ensemble, who would be part of it?
If I think of it, I think sure I would have John or Alden Miller, Steve Vai.
Okay.
Of course, Zakir and Viku and Selva Ganesh. And I would have Stephen Perkins, amazing rock drummer in America. I don't know how it would work. Incredible percussionist, is also a drummer.
Right.
And plus
And
also Robert Trujillo on the bass.
Lovely. Wouldn't you be a part of it?
Of course I will be part of it. If it is possible,
Right.
if I can put it together, if people would work.
Right. What is your favorite cuisine?
I love Italian food, my favorite food.
What are the
Not that-
top?
Right.
Yeah, please tell me. Please tell me.
Because I love Indian food very much. It's not that, but I've eaten Indian food all my life. And usually I used to tour a lot. So I like Italian food, pizza, spaghetti, salad, all these stuff.
Lovely. What are the top 5 songs that you are proud of crafting and which will live the test of time?
There was a song called Across the River with Peter Gabriel.
Mhm.
And then, like In the Air, I contributed with Phil Collins. That's amazing, no?
Right.
And then there's a song called Can't Wait. That's a song in my Chapelary Dream with Jonathan Davis is singing on that. And then there's another song called New World, which is all a cappella,
Okay.
which is a Chapelary Dream. And then Paper Nut, that's a song from Song for Everyone with John Garbrack, all those guys.
Any Shakti song that you'd like to add?
I love Joy. That's one of the first songs I wrote. And the Dance the Bunny. Two Sisters,
Two
so many
Sisters.
songs, happy songs,
Yeah.
so many nice, very nice.
Right. What are the top?
India, India is another song, Shakti song, India.
Right.
Lady.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Right. What are the top 3 qualities of a teacher that you personally embody?
Say that again, repeat that again, sorry.
What are the top 3 qualities of a teacher that you personally embody?
Teacher
Teacher.
or teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah. For a teacher, I think they have to be very patient because they can never, because sometimes I have one particular students, like they came and said the teacher really scolded them so much that they stopped. Teachers are supposed to give vision and positiveness. They are like more like parents. You have to be very, very nice. You never know. That's very important, patience. And every teacher should be willing to accept if their student is right. You have to say, I'm sorry, you were right. And then these teachers should be open enough to learn from the students. I'm not I'm the teacher, I'm the one who knows, not like that.
Yeah. If you were given a superpower to turn the clock back and change something that you'd like to in your musical pursuit, like it can be an event or it can be anything, right? What might that be?
Is that it has to be like in music?
Yeah, anything music related.
Like in India, it's so important. Like in North, it's a little more common. Like in the South, like many of these musicians, they don't accompany ladies, women. There are some great ladies artists like MS Subbulakshmi, Patamal, so many people who came. So many times, the mridangam player and every single day is saying, oh my God, we don't accompany for the women. And women are treated not good. No, really, that's not a good thing. And I think it's very, very important for me that women should be really respected very much. Same thing the kids do, like in India, there's no security, like you go in bus and all these kind of stuff. It's such a country, you have to really treat them really so special. That's what it is. So I think they have to give more preference and take care of the women and children. Very important.
Lovely. If you had to describe your experience being on Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, how would you describe it?
I had a great time talking to you. I think you're doing an amazing job. I checked some of your other stuff. You're passing on your knowledge to future generation of all kinds of people internationally. You're doing an awesome job. Keep on doing it. We need people like you for the future generation. And it's a privilege, and I'm so happy to be talking to you. All these things, It's great to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. Means a lot coming from you. I have one last question for today.
Okay.
Down in the distant horizon, what would you like to be remembered as?
To be a kind and good-hearted person who helps others.
That's a great answer for a closure. This interview will be additionally aired on Big FM Shillong and Azol on my Sunday primetime radio show between 5 to 6 p.m. And
one thing, I wanted to wish you a very, very, very happy birthday and long life.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Shankar.
Very close to the time we are going to relay this show, I believe.
Right. That just means a lot. And this interview will also be out on my YouTube channel, Aditya Veera 1994. And it'll also be streaming at a later point on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all possible audio streaming platforms. It's been such an incredible blessing, honor, and a privilege talking to you, Mr. Shankar. It's a blessing for me too. Thank you for talking to me, and amazing, great experience, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.